That's interesting.
Right? Like, so I guess with something like this podcast, we're tapping into that Kairos sort of time.
Yeah.
Because at various different places in the chronology of time, there's going to be people that are going to listen to this and participate in the conversation as if they are here with us. As if you're listening to it the first time as it's released tomorrow or 3 years down the line.
Yeah. Because you discovered it on a backlog and now we're super famous.
Right? Because this is the now for you listening. This is the now for you.
Yeah.
Even though this is an entirely different place in chronology for us.
Yeah.
And yet we're experiencing it together.
Oh, we could be dead.
We could be dead. Oh. And you could be listening to our voices and enjoying learning and growing with us in some kind of relationship.
Yeah, this is our Picasso. We are Picasso in this moment. You only appreciate us after we are gone.
Well, to all of you guys, after we're dead 2 years from now. Cheers.
Cheers, clink, motherfuckers. I don't know why.
And we're back. Welcome to the Blue Collar Philosophers Podcast. This is Devin, Kickstand Braun.
And this is Biker Mike from Mars. What is going on, everybody?
Yeah, and this episode is probably coming to you later than you normally get it because...
They get it when they deserve it.
Yeah, exactly. Because we gave y'all like almost 5 hours of content last week.
I think we blew our load on that one.
I think so. I think we burned out a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, plus classic story. I got called out to work out of town again, so it gets in the way. Ooh, you're having the Japanese stuff.
The Japanese.
Santori.
This is Blue Collar Philosophers Podcast. I don't know if we said that part yet.
We did. It's literally the first thing that I said.
I may have been sleeping when Devin showed up.
Yes, you still have nap energy going on.
Yeah, but I'm not... my morning energy and your morning energy are very different. I think people drive my morning energy. If I'm by myself, I'm just stoic and I'm chill. But if I'm around people, I'm like, okay, time to amp it up. And I turn it on.
Oh, yeah. In the morning, I'm like, leave me alone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't want people. I'm growly.
The thing is, even people you love, you're like, could you fuck off?
Exactly.
That direction.
Pick a direction. Like, I'm not fussy.
I love you, honey, but fuck off. I don't know if you say that to you. She doesn't listen. So
no, she already...
She's been trained.
Yes. We wake up at very different times, so she doesn't have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. When she gets up, I'm already normal.
Yeah. You've normalized by the time she gets there. So, yeah, we blew our load on that whole recording thing. And so, I slept pretty good after that. What I really enjoyed about it is each person brought a new level of energy. Like, just bam, like you were refreshed for the next one. You were tired, but you're like, okay, let's see where this conversation goes.
Like I super enjoyed it because it was a little bit of a challenge, like pivoting from topic to topic with different people. Like, and we didn't know what any topic was going to be.
No.
So every conversation had a whole different thrust to it. So we had to like pivot on the fly and just get into a totally different mode of conversation.
Yeah. So it just, I enjoyed it. Did you have any standout favorites, or were they just? I enjoyed all of them differently. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I had one that like stood out because I was like, I just love all these people. The hardest one is Scott.
Yeah, that was because he was the one guy that was in over Zoom, and it just that one was just hard to connect with. Yeah, so we need a mulligan in person with him.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be great when we have him on.
Yeah. Oh, I do want to give a shout out to Justin Akers, who apparently listens to this podcast while he soaks in a hot tub in the evenings. So that's creepy as shit.
Touch yourself.
You heard it, Justin.
Now everyone knows that while he listened to this, he may or may not have done as he was told. Which is really weird on our end. I just made it weird.
I know. I promised him I'd give him a shout out, and then I was like, that's kind of odd that he would specifically say, I listen to you guys in the hot tub.
Yeah. Well, we had a guy, remember Bubbles?
Oh, yes.
He listened in his tub.
He recorded his own podcast while he was drinking beers in a tub. You
In
could
a
hear
bathtub.
you could hear the water sloshing.
I love Dave. I haven't told him yet. If he still listens, I'm gonna be in his neighborhood, and I'm gonna try and get away for like an afternoon to go hang out with him if he's around.
Nice,
because I want to hang out with him so bad. I've gone through there multiple times and not been able to connect with him.
Well, yeah,
like,
when you're on the family clock, and your destination is never Lloyd. Your destination is always where your parents are.
Yeah, where my parents are, where my brothers are. Like it's everywhere but Lloyd, because the only person in Lloyd for me to hang out with is him and now Sean Newman, which on the last one took precedent because it's promoting this and trying to build this up too. So we'll simultaneously be like, I want to hang out with Dave. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with Dave again. It's going to be great. I hope, unless he's bitter and angry, which I would get it. I would understand.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm just assuming he's listening, but so I feel like I can say this to his face because I know he'll hear it as I'm saying it. But he's always bitter and angry, so don't worry about it.
Yes. And I know, a lot of our new fans don't remember us talking about Dave, but back in the day, we used to bring it up all the time. We were like, oh yeah, Dave, but now we haven't done that for a while.
Well, yeah, I guess we haven't. Like, I don't think he's doing his podcast anymore.
No, he stepped away from it for very good reasons, because, you can't reminisce about the past all the time and
expect to grow forward.
And grow forward, yeah.
But at the same time, they were fantastically entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
Snippets of, like, redneck northwestern Canadian life.
Yeah, real, raw. Like, as raw as we are, no, they're more raw. Like we said, bathtub noises. Like, you could... we don't do this in a bathtub or a hot tub or anything like that.
But even just the content itself was, like, all about whatever memories of the old life that he had, and that was like, it was like listening to like somebody, like a character, like a side character from the Trailer Park Boys, talking about his life.
Yeah,
and he was like, I'm like, why don't you put the camera on that guy? Like, I want to know more about that guy's life because he's more fun than the main characters.
Yeah. There's a few movies like that where you're like, wow, that as good as this movie is. Great. I want to know more about that one over there, that guy.
Yep.
And it's always the odd duck too. It's never like the normal friend or whatever. It's always somebody a little on the fringe. So, you were out in Chetty, getting work done. Still living in hotels, eating out every night, or do you like grocery shop now?
It depends. Like, I haven't done as much there as was what my dad has. So he got to the point where he was doing grocery shopping and stuff.
Yeah.
But that only works when you're staying at a place that has available stuff to cook.
Yeah, cook, or like cooking appliances.
Yeah, we stopped in at one of the local restaurants there. Just screw it. The pub. It is one of 3 local restaurants, okay? So we stopped in at the pub.
One of them's a pub.
Yeah, and we sat down and the waitress comes up. It's like, oh, house red? Like, she just looked at him and knew exactly what he was going to order because in the last 3 months he's been there so much.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, Chetwynd has 3 nice restaurants. The nice restaurant, the dirty restaurant, and the pub.
Yep. Oh, and the Chinese food place.
I thought that was the dirty one.
It's 4. It's where all the local stray cats disappear.
Yeah, hey, they're delicious. Don't judge.
Hey, if I am eating cat there, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, well done, or medium rare, depending on how they. I don't know. I don't. Judge.
I feel like cat's something to eat well done. Anything that's at all a predator, you want to eat well done.
See, I'm such a carnivore that I am curious what things taste like. Like animals that you can't eat. I'm even curious what people taste like. I'm like, I wonder, like, what would a human cooked taste like? And I'm just curious, not like looking out to, gonna hunt somebody down and figure it out for myself. No, I'm just genuinely like, oh, is it gamey? Is it not gamey? Like, lion. I want to just any kind of meat. I just want to try it. Just curiosity. I've had gator. I want to try kangaroo one day. That's going to be good.
Do they eat kangaroos?
I would. I assume it would be gamey.
I just wondered, like, what, or if that's like sacred. Like, you don't kill the kangaroos because they're like, like you try like shooting an eagle in the U.S. It's like that's like nay. You don't
No,
do that here.
They're like mule deer between here and in Hudson Hope. That's the way they are like deer.
Well, I mean, the same thing happens in like India where there's cows everywhere. Yeah. But you don't fuck with the cows in India.
I still don't understand that. They're so good. Okay, I used to have this thing. I had a friend that was a vegetarian, and young vegetarian, so you think he's just naive and, just being silly, but that's fine. And I love jerky. Have you ever said no to a piece of jerky in your life? Somebody offers you jerky. Have you ever said no?
Only after I've already had a bunch of jerky.
Yeah, maybe if you're like, I'm so full, my teeth are sore from chewing jerky.
I'm so thirsty. Like, I don't want more jerky. Now I need water.
But you wouldn't say no, like if somebody offered you jerky.
Yeah.
I assumed jerky was so good that vegetarians, like, that's their exception. Like, all of them have this exception. It's like we don't eat meat, but a good jerky. You can't say no. That's the way I view jerky. Because I just like food. I like meat. I really, really do.
But even so,
I really want to make an inappropriate joke, but I'm not going to.
If you were a vegetarian, what would be your exception? Would it be, like, would you waste your exception on jerky?
Me? Knowing what meat is out there? I think I would. Like, bacon's great and everything, but if you got to choose one that you can't, because it's a treat, one, you don't go out and have jerky all the time. Some people do jerky all the time where it doesn't mean anything to them. Jerky, you go out of your way to do. So it is a treat. Bacon, it's with breakfast. If you're just, it's all meat is kind of something that's like normal to everybody else. Jerky's already exceptional in itself.
In no universe is jerky better than bacon.
I think it is. That's a bold statement, I know.
Huh.
But I think jerky is
I do
better
not like
than
it that
bacon.
much. Not
Really?
even, no. Like, to me, it's like, it's something that, you have out of your meat scraps, like when you're done butchering an animal, of getting the pieces.
This is what's left.
Pieces, after you're done, parsing out all the meat that you do want. This is what you do with the leftovers in order to make it palatable or last long. And it makes a very convenient protein snack, but it is not a treat.
Yeah, 1 second. I just gotta text the kid.
Dadding on the fly.
Dadding. Well, but the kids can message me. It's great. So it's like they didn't even come in the room. They're like, Elise spilled her juice. Can she have more? Yes. Clean up first. There we go. All right.
Wait for Mom to get back and have her clean it up. Daddy told us you would take care of it, Mommy.
No lovin'. I built my wife a beautiful bookshelf, and you hold that against me. She would be like, you made me clean up a little girl's meat. You told them to wait. Yeah. So you don't see jerky as special. I always thought it special because I wasn't never affiliated with the making of jerky, so I never saw it as scraps. I always saw it as like you're going out of your way to have jerky.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, like, it's good, it's tasty. I like jerky. I just don't like it more than like most uses of either venison or beef.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love bacon. Like a good like. You ever had the McGriddle?
Yep.
You ever heard the Mighty McGriddle?
No.
It's got sausage and bacon on it.
Oh, nice.
Like, you just say Mighty McGriddle, you get both. You're not getting one. You're getting sausage and bacon on the McGriddle. I love a McGriddle. It's like my guilty pleasure. It's like the road trip food of my wife and I are together, and we're leaving early in the morning, or we're just going out for breakfast somewhere. We'll go either Cora's or McDonald's McGriddles. Which, it's weird that those two are on the same playing field.
Well, I gotta say, and in the last 10 years, the restaurant Cora's is a far cry from what it once was.
Yes, it used to be something amazing.
Yeah, it's to the point where like somebody brings up Cora's, I'm like,
it's like Denny's.
Yeah, it's like Denny's, but somehow worse because it's the
French.
Yeah, because it's French, but like your entire plate is full of not yet ripe fruit. Bland fruit.
And they don't even do the fancy cutting anymore. They used to like go out of their way to make the cutting and all that stuff very special, very unique. Like they were like, oh, this is what it's about. But they don't even do that anymore.
That's what happens when a franchise stops trying.
Yeah. Well, they don't have to. They got bought out. I assume they got bought out because there's no way that. I hope there's no way that.
There's no way that Chef Cora would sanction this bullshit.
That French bitch would totally roll over in her grave. And she's like, no, I sold it for like $30 billion. I don't give a fuck no more. You go eat your fruit somewhere else. I don't know. I know that at one point her son got kidnapped because he was of that family and like they ransomed him and everything.
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
Quebec is an interesting place.
It's so cool. I love Quebec. If you haven't been to Quebec, you got to check it out. Old Quebec City, Montreal, great music scene there. Ottawa or Gatineau across from there. It's like Ottawa 2.0.
So my question is for you, are these the memories of Quebec or is it still that cool?
You see, I don't know how to answer that because I still think it's that cool. And everyone I talk to who goes to Quebec City and Montreal and stuff like that, they still say it's that cool. But I haven't been in 10 years, so I don't know. And I also didn't even spend a whole lot of time in Montreal. Like Montreal, I only spent a little bit of time there, but when I was there, it was such a cool place. Quebec City, I spent one weekend there, but it was so unique. Like just the old wall. Like you got walls of a city that still exist from when Canada was founded. And it's really, really interesting and cool. And everyone's got cobble streets and stuff like that.
Oh, that kind of stuff is neat.
Yeah, so I really enjoy it. So yeah, check out Quebec if you haven't. Hey, do you know what market we got to get into? China.
We got it.
How do we get into the China market? Because America's beating Canada in numbers now. Like every month, these last few months, America's been winning. Like just bam, bam, bam. So we got the American market. So we're kind of we're seeping into it. Subtly.
All right, excellent. Good to hear. Bang, bang.
I'm super excited because we see you listening, Florida. We see you, South Carolina, Georgia, like all those states, and it's a lot of South. So I think they like the redneck in us. So I want to know how do we get the Chinese market?
Okay, if you want the Chinese market, first you got to really, really learn how to say "we love the government" in Chinese. And be like, please let us flagellate you and tell you about all the amazing things that you do for us. And that's how you get into the China market.
Okay, all right. So I've been watching some news, and it says there was this. I'm going to quote this Chinese man. He said, "Fuck China." I don't remember what he said. Don't trust China or something like that.
Don't
trust them. I'm pretty sure they've made if somebody has heard this in China, they've already duplicated it and made their own version of it. The bluest colors philosophers. Falafels. So they say falafels. Blue colored falafels.
The bluish green falafels.
Yeah, you see, they make their own Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. They have their own knockoff of Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. It's
I want to see Bizarro Land Chinese Rogan.
You ever watch any of the Chinese films that are like very propaganda, very pro-China?
I mean, I've watched American films that you can tell are trying to cater the way that they're portraying the world scene and stuff like that to China.
No, there's other ones. If you watch some of the newer Jackie Chan movies, it's very American style movies made in China for Chinese people, but they're in the American style of how rock'em sock'em kind of action, not the traditional.
Okay, not the traditional like
all that stuff.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of stuff.
Yeah, none of
it's
those
more
great
like
ones. It's like for the glory of China kind of stuff. We have the best special forces ever, and this team's gonna go in and save the day. But there's corrupt ones, but there's not, and there is. And I'm like, Jackie Chan and what's his face, the big white guy. He's very huge in China. You can't see me guy.
John Cena.
John Cena, yeah. Him and Jackie Chan did a movie together, and it was so bad. And it's very, very pro-China. So if you have a Chinese friend, recommend this podcast to them, and they'll
watch it. Just blow up because we will sell out if for that sweet China money.
Ni hao,
it was like 13 yen that equals like 1 cent. We will bend over.
Mm-hmm. So what good things do China make? I'm trying to think. I'm like, we got to pander to them a little bit. What do they make that's really like something extraordinary?
I don't know about
Wish.com. They make everything on Wish, which is.
I really don't know. Like, I pay very, very little attention to China itself. Like lately, they've come up on my radar. Like, apart from like geopolitics, with their new push to get into the motorcycle market. Yeah, so they're releasing sport bikes, cruisers, scramblers, all these various kinds of bikes they're doing what Japan did in the 70s.
Okay.
Or sorry, they're doing what Japan did in the 80s, which is trying to copy
copy the American market or
copy the top market from the European and Americans and make their own versions of it that are cheaper and more accessible.
Yes. I will be curious to see what they do because I know that they have a big problem when it comes to CCs. Everything's small. They'll make a giant motorcycle, they make it hyper efficient, but it won't be it's going to be a small motor. And I love V-twins, and I know they'd choose efficiency over
like it's not going to be
aesthetic.
I don't think it's going to be like the Japanese, because the Japanese went toe-to-toe with America with, like...
Well, look at your intruder, the perfect example.
Like they were like, hey, we want your style, we want big engines, we want to try to capture that American sort of spirit. China has got a different attitude about it. They are more like, we want to flood the market with the cheapest shit we can.
Wish.com.
Just to get a part of the pie. It's all aggregate towards the greater good.
Do you think there's going to be like Wish motorcycles out there? It's like you bought a Harley but from Wish motorcycle.
Yeah, I think that's what these bikes are going to wind up being. Like they're going to kind of just wind up being that
unfinished, like this shoddy workmanship. Because that's the problem. Half the stuff that we get from there, the workmanship's not there.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's all copies of stuff that we have here, just made to look like it, but not actually be it. Like, because you can go order a Simpson helmet from Wish.
Oh, yeah?
They found the mold, they pour the mold, and they put in the cheapest internals they can into it.
But it looks the same, right?
It looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't do the safety job at all. Like it
doesn't have the sticker on the back.
Yeah, but they comes with stickers. You can put the sticker on yourself.
Not included. You just put it on yourself.
We had a friend in Edmonton that was partial to getting a lot of different helmets and stuff like that.
Yep.
And he had several Alibaba or Wish.com Simpson helmets, and they were all shit.
Yes, and that's the thing.
And the thing is, like, he's like, you can get it so much cheaper if you get it on Alibaba. It's the same thing.
All right.
In the meantime, he's like, they're not as great as everybody says they are. I'm like, well, that's because you were wearing a Wish.com version of it.
Right. And one of the biggest problems when it comes to that, the standard for DOT, Department of Transportation helmets, is so low already.
It's so low, you could almost make a version of it that would pass the test in your basement.
Yes. All it has to do, and the requirements are ridiculous. Everyone thinks that DOT means something. No, you pretty much pay for that. You do. Like, if you just like, oh, what's the regulation? How much force did it need to take? Oh, don't worry about that. Just pay us, and you'll get the DOT sticker on the back.
Yeah.
So,
So when you do buy stuff that doesn't even have DOT on the back, like, you should be very afraid because it doesn't even reach that threshold.
Don't drop it.
It's like, this is no better than wearing a baseball cap.
Yes. Yeah. It might be worse because it gives you a false sense of security where if I hit, it'll do something. No, at least a baseball cap will stay together. It'll maintain, it'll stay one piece. It might fly off your head, but it'll be in one piece. You can't even recommend that or say that'll happen with a regular helmet. I need a new full face too. I want a Simpson, but they're so expensive. I can't bring myself.
I know.
One.
I almost wonder if it would be better for me to like keep mine and like just get new internals for it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like not the actual like shell.
Yeah.
Or the foam, but like the cheek pads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, replace that with fresh stuff might be worth it rather than...
Might be for how much they're going for nowadays.
Because I like it.
It is it's so cool.
Like, there's not a helmet on the market that looks as good as what they do, I think.
Yeah. I also like your spaceman helmet.
Oh,
the retro
yeah.
one.
I would consider going back to one of those, the Built-Well Gringo.
Yeah, that thing's so cool. I'm like, I like that. But I love my 3/4 bubble shield. It's so cool. I really do love it. Like, it's a cool helmet.
I know. I like having the face protection, like
the chin guard. Yeah,
the chin guard. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know I don't have that with the face shield. If I hit something, it would not stay on. But I'm hoping that I have the wherewithal to tuck and roll.
That's right. You just gotta tuck and roll.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about things.
Oh, I suppose we have.
Yeah, they're important to us. They are. If somebody
you're reaching for a segue.
I am reaching for a segue. I realize we're gonna run out of time because we haven't hung out in since we recorded that episode. We haven't hung out.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just because, like I said, we blew our load. That was a lot all at once. So, as much as I want to just sit here and bullshit and hang out,
we do need to actually get some content.
We do need to actually give you something worth listening to because somebody will bitch and complain.
You wasted 2 hours of our time.
So much time. Do you know how valuable my time is? Sorry.
If you are this far into the podcast already, and you're like complaining about us wasting your time, this is your fault, and I'm actually happy that we've wasted this much of your time so far. So
yes,
win-win for everybody but you.
In fact, now that we've said it, other people are overjoyed that you've wasted this time too, because they'd be like, well, it's not me, but if there is somebody out there who's annoyed, this makes me happy because I've enjoyed the conversation about
right. There's a couple. I guarantee listening right now. I mean, again, that concept of time for right now is very different because this is going to be released in a few days, and people will listen to it at various different points from now for years.
Yeah. Oh, no, years. No, definitely years, because I'm still seeing stuff that we loaded over a year ago getting downloaded still. So
exactly. So right now, when I say right now,
the moment that you're listening,
it literally means for every moment throughout eternity, as long as this digital record exists, somebody will be offended that we've wasted their time, and somebody in response to that will feel an intrinsic ecstasy of joy with us for that person's misery. And to you out there that just gave a little fist pump in the air, we say cheers.
Cheers. It was horrible. Hold on, I got glass.
All right, this one's for you.
Yeah.
And with that, we can transition to content.
I do want to talk about for just a split second the idea of a shared experience outside of time.
Yes.
Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm.
The very fact that somebody could be listening to this and then you go years later and somebody else could be listening to this, sharing the same experience, maybe not in the same spirit, the same way, but still sharing an experience with somebody else in a completely separate timeline. It's weird. Well, I might have had an edible a few hours ago.
It's like, what is the... Okay, so in Greek, there's two different words for time. One is chronos for consecutive time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other is, what, kairos? Is that it?
No, Kairos is Christ. Oh, no. I don't know now.
That's Christos.
Christos is...
There's another word for a different kind of time.
Okay, let's break down the two different types. Is there like two different types of time, or is there just two different phrases?
There's two different words that refer to time differently. So chronos is a quantitative version of time. Like it is the march, the ever march of second after second, minute after minute, hour after hour, right? This is just time in sequence that we all experience.
Yeah.
And the other, I think it's kairos, is a reference to a quality of time. It's a special moment in time that isn't defined by sequence.
Huh.
And it's used several times in the New Testament. And
so a significant time as opposed to a standard, I guess would be a way of looking at it.
Yeah, like you could be like, this is the time for our revolution, right? It's not saying like, okay, at 8 o'clock we're having a revolution. It's saying like, no, the time is right.
Yes.
To do something together. Yeah. And it's also used...
That's interesting.
Right? Like, so I guess with call back like to moments like in different places, we're tapping into that kairos sort of time.
Yeah.
Because at various different places in the chronology of time, there's going to be people that are going to listen to this and participate in the conversation as if they are here with us. As if you're listening to it the first time as it's released tomorrow or 3 years down the line.
Yeah. Because you discovered it on a backlog, and now we're super famous.
Right? Because this is the now for you listening. This is the now for you, even though this is an entirely different place in chronology for us.
Yeah,
and yet we're experiencing it together.
Oh, we could be dead.
We could be dead, and you could be listening to our voices and enjoying learning and growing with us in some kind of relationship.
Yeah, this is our Picasso. We are Picasso in this moment. You only appreciate us after we are gone.
Well, to all of you guys, after we're dead 3 years from now, this is cheers.
Cheers, clink, motherfuckers. It's.
I don't know why I picked 3 years. I just figured that was far enough in the future for me not to give a shit.
And we're probably alive.
Probably
putting it out there. We're probably fine if we're dead.
There's gonna be some kind of like divine justice thing that is going to kill me on the 7th of December 3 years from now.
Your toe. Oh my god. Oh, could you imagine dying from that? It would be the most embarrassing ever. Got an infection in my toe.
Got an infection in my big toe, and now I'm dead. Swapping war stories in heaven, baby.
Oh, that's awesome. All right.
Emperor Nero like cut out my tongue and threatened to behead me if I didn't stop making writings. So I kept making writings. I'm like, I didn't go to the doctor in time to get antibiotics. Sorry, guys.
What's that? 3 guys go to heaven. One man, he got to heaven because he fought 1,000 soldiers and, saved 1 million people, blah, blah, blah. Another guy's like, well, I stepped in front of a bunch of bikers, and this is just a story, to save a woman who was going to get her robbed. And it's like, whoa, when did you do that? I'm like, 5 minutes ago. Didn't do anything. He's dead. Segue.
Yes. You were reaching, you had some kind of segue, and I ruined it.
We both ruined it.
So now we're just it's a full transition.
A full transition.
It should be jarring. You should give you whiplash.
All right. Do we want to talk about how you came about it, or do we want to present the liberal idea of it first?
Well, okay, so I was listening to a podcast. It was a Sam Harris podcast where he was going over different parts of the Israel-Palestine conflict, and he mentioned how weird it was that, like, all this is going on, right? And like everybody's all up in arms about Israel, like, you know, making military actions and all that stuff. Because, like, right now, that is the main thing. Like, you're the cool kids if you're, like, standing up for Palestine and all this sort of stuff.
Which is so odd to me.
And he was like, they literally have hostages. At that time, they had hundreds.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is now, because, like, I know...
They still have about 100.
Yeah, okay. I know at this point, like, there's been releases and stuff like that have been significant, but... So, at that point, they had just scores and scores of hostages. And people are still like, yeah, but you have to contextualize it. Like, you know, they're going over
they're just
all
going
that
nuance
stuff. And Harris pointed out a weird thing. Like, it's weird that everybody is so cool with this because, especially considering that they're getting bombed and bombed and bombed, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if Israel stopped all military action against Palestine? Just outright stopped. Just said, okay, we are no longer going to kill anybody.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool. That still wouldn't get the hostages back.
No.
You're like, okay, so rather than engaging in this urban warfare with you, why don't we hold the Temple Mount in Jerusalem hostage? Like, we threatened to tear it down and rebuild the temple.
Yeah.
And we will do this unless you release all the hostages and give up Hamas. This is now our strategy. It's nonviolent.
Yep.
And
no one will get hurt.
No one will get hurt.
In fact, it's creating jobs.
The entire left, and actually apart from that, even just the whole Muslim world would lose their collective shit over that, to the point where it makes the outrage over Israel bombing Palestine seem like nothing. Mm-hmm. Like, that would potentially be a start a new world war.
That would be World War III.
Yeah, that would start a new world war between the Islamic world and the Western world.
Yeah.
And he's like, how wild is it that a building, and not even like, you know,
a building.
Yeah, just a building. It's
an arbitrary building.
It's an arbitrary building that has no feelings, no life, no anything. It is brick, mortar, stones, dust,
gold,
you know. That is worth more to everybody than all the lives of everyone that's dying in this conflict. Yeah.
They recognize that if it could literally start World War III, and they'd be willing to risk that.
You know, and it's so much so that it's like not even on the table. People wouldn't even consider being like, hey, let's just hold the Temple Mount hostage till we get everybody back. We can do that. Yeah. Like, they wouldn't dare.
The thing is, they could even deconstruct it. They could literally tear it down in a way that, hey, you can rebuild this somewhere else. We'll give you all the materials. Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't even threaten to blow it up
if you just brick.
You know. Yeah, and so he was just saying, like, that is just wild to consider what people's values are. Yeah.
And the thing is, they would continue. They would say, no, you do not do that. It's like, okay, your options are this, or we continue bombing. And they would say, continue bombing.
Yes, they would, 100%.
If they were like, if those are the two options, continue bombing. And it's like, that is strange.
It is strange.
Because you know that Israel has actually conceded territory multiple times. They have constantly given up more and more territory. They do it all the time. The only time they gain territory is when they get attacked. So if you just leave them the fuck alone, you would pretty much have where you're at all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so that just got us thinking about how things aren't always things.
Yeah. Well, and it makes me think, okay, we have this inflated idea in Canada that we're so much more enlightened or less primitive than America when it comes to the flag. America loves their flag. Mm-hmm. They put it everywhere, and they put it on everything. You don't You don't stomp on it. You can put it on a pair of shorts and leave that pair of shorts on the ground, but you don't. If it represents the flag, even a patch or whatever, you don't put it on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And in Canada, we don't have that. We do not have that adherence. In fact, when America wanted to disrespect Canada during the women's hockey games or whatever, they put the Canadian flag on the floor of their dressing room and they walked all over it. And it was seen as disrespect. Well, simultaneously, Canada wouldn't do that. And America, that was their way of psychological warfare, was to disrespect a flag, even though Canada doesn't have the same level of reverence for an object.
But we still have some, though.
Oh, yes.
Like, even just because it's not at the level of the Americans' patriotism, doesn't mean we don't have patriotism. It doesn't mean that those symbols don't cut to the quick.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I remember being in...
We're not that enlightened. We're not that much...
We're not beyond starting a fist fight over disrespecting a flag, especially if you tried burning it. You tried burning our flag. I'm like, I don't like Justin Trudeau either. I'll hang it upside down. It actually means something to be hung upside down. But I remember being in Ottawa way back in the day. My buddy, he's very French. Same vegetarian friend. He created a flag, and he made it red, white, and blue, like a France flag, but he kept the Canadian maple leaf in the middle. And so it was like, no, it was a callback to our roots of French heritage and all this stuff. And it was never meant to disrespect. But because we were in Ottawa and he had this giant flag waving around, everyone was like, what's going on here? Like, they went and came and talked to him. No one tried to cancel him because it was 2000s, like early 2000s. No one cared enough to cancel anybody. But it was this idea that we need to understand what you're doing here. Like, what are you trying to disrespect? He's like, no, this is just a callback to our heritages, our French heritage as well.
Oh, I want to ask, is that what the flag was when Quebecois was from France?
I don't think so.
I just feel like that wasn't well thought out from a thematic.
No, we were teenagers, man. We were like, I was like 17, 18 years old, and ideologically immature. But and I just roll with it because he was the cool guy, and he still is a cool. He's a hippie, commie, raving, guitar playing, just what you expect somebody to be from California, but then French, like French Canadian.
Okay, so completely insufferable.
Yeah. But he's such a cool guy. He really is. He's like, I'm like, okay, I disagree with him on so many parts. He looks up to Marxism and all that stuff. But I'm like, he was such a fun guy to hang out with that despite my conservatism, he was good. He was a good hang. I still consider him a friend. I don't know if he looks at me that way, but I look at him that way. Like, he is still a cool guy.
If you guys ever meet, you need to wear a MAGA hat.
He couldn't. He would not bring himself to. He lives in California now, too.
Okay. Yeah.
But, like, Northern California. So, anyways, and it was this thing of, even though we don't have the same level of admiration for our flag, when somebody saw something change about it, they were like, I gotta ask, like, what's going on here? What are you trying? Are you trying to call back to America? They were thinking America, red, white, and blue, right? And he's like, no, this is France flag, Canadian flag, really simple. And yeah, that's all it was. But we drew a thing to it of, this is something worth talking about, worth, connecting on, and it's not just a thing, because it represents something bigger than itself. And that's why burning of the flag, some people will say, it's just a flag, let it burn. It's like, then why burn it?
Yeah. Yeah. And this isn't just because people connect flags with, colonialism and
white supremacy, some people.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff, right? So they're like, well, of course you conservatives are like that, but like, why do you make rainbow crosswalks?
Yep.
And then like lose your minds when there's like skid tire marks across them.
Just paint, bro.
Right. It's the idea of a thing representing something bigger, like that concept is old as dirt.
Yeah.
It's
And the thing is, when you get offended by people doing burnouts on a rainbow crosswalk, when you get offended by somebody doing harm to your object, it's just an object. What happened to, oh, it's just a flag? Like, you say one thing, you say it's just a flag, it's just property. Why are you mad when people riot and burn down building? It's just a building. It's like, no, it's not just a building, because otherwise you wouldn't have just burned it down. Because if it meant so little, burning it down would mean nothing to you. So why do it? So
like, no matter what, like you overlook your own thing, and then you call out other people's, right? You overlook your own idols or icons, or their importance, and you downplay it in your own mind, even though they're there, because when they're violated, then you get spooled right up.
Yeah.
But when it comes to other people, you're like, well, what's the big deal? It's just stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they even plays out in the argument for self-defense in your home, right? Like, I believe if somebody breaks into your house, you should have every moral right, to
destroy
them, to dispatch them. Be like, this is where my family sleeps. This is where my life is. All that I've poured myself into building for myself and acquiring for the sake of my family, my own, is all here. You don't have a right to violate it, to come take things for yourself and putting my family's livelihood, at risk, or at worst, them as people at risk, if you decide to hurt them in order to get this stuff.
And it sets a terrifying precedent later on. Could you imagine you allow something like that? It's just things.
Yeah.
Well, guess what a criminal says? He's like, oh, it's just things to him.
Yeah. But this is an actual debate that is happening in Canada. Actually, it's happening everywhere.
All over.
It's all over. In fact, the debate's been lost for us because we've lost the right to defend ourselves. We cannot.
We do have the right to defend ourselves, but not using excessive force. So you can't use excessive force. Do you know what's a fucking arbitrary term? The word excessive.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you injure somebody in your home in order to protect it, you run the risk of being sued by that person and potentially losing that fight.
Oh, easily.
Right? And the thought is like, well, you don't need weapons to defend your home, because like, what amount of stuff is worth that man's life? Who's in your home stealing your shit, or potentially there to harm your family or anything like that.
Yeah, but
he's
like, probably not there to harm them. He's there for a big screen.
Yeah, is anything like that worth that man's life? Right?
He thought so.
Yeah, it's just stuff. But you can't say that without recognizing that stuff is more than stuff. Like, the belongings in a person's home, in a family's home, isn't just stuff.
Yeah.
It is part of their life. It is part of...
It's something they built.
It's something they've built. It's something that has been accrued and sweated for. Like, you've traded time that you will never get back in order to provide a small gift for your child at Christmas. Like something like a PlayStation maybe, or a bicycle, or something even smaller, but something that somebody might steal. But like, you traded your life, a portion of your life and well-being, in order to have enough to get something that you can give to your kid in order for them to have, something to enjoy. Like, a source of joy, right? Like, that is more than just the component parts of what an object is, right? It's an icon of sacrifice that you as a man have made for the sake of relationship with your child.
Yeah.
That's more than just a thing.
Yeah.
And how dare somebody like break into your castle,
your domain,
your domain, in order to take that thing away, in order to steal that portion of your life that has been transformed into that PlayStation or TV, that has been transformed into a gift that you have given your family. Fuck them for thinking that they can just come and take that thing. It's more than just an object.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how more strongly to state that, but it's an icon of something deeper.
That goes way deeper than I was going to say, because I was going to say, you put it brilliantly. And so some people will put the onus on you to say, you believe that your things are worth a man's life. And I say, nay, nay. He believed, or she, I don't take it away from women to be able to be equal to men, believes that that thing was worth their life because they risked it coming into my home. They risked life and well-being for things. They went into a home. They don't know me. They don't know anything about me. And if they were willing to make that risk, well, they're willing to make other risks.
It's to them, it is honestly like they've done the math. To them, it is worth more than your well-being.
Yep.
They've already made that choice that this thing isn't just a thing. This thing is worth me injuring you. Yeah. Like, I remember when I was a teenager, there was a break-in that happened to a family of one of my youth group friends. And they broke into the house. You know, it was older gentleman, his teenage son and teenage daughter. Mm-hmm. And I remember his daughter talking about, like, being terrified because they were going through shit in her room, and she woke up and found them, and the guy basically put a hand over her face and just like said shh or else you know, sort of thing. Yeah. Right, like that person was there knowing full well, like, yes, he did the peaceful thing, but still, like, imagine like the terror, like,
yeah,
that this girl who could not have done anything to that person if he decided to take something from her.
Yeah.
And then the threat, you know, that,
yeah,
like, I'm willing to do something to you. The dad woke up during the home invasion, was pushed down a flight of stairs, really badly hurt.
Yeah.
Like, all the shit was worth, like, they decided before they got into this house that whatever simple stuff they wanted to take was worth more than that man's hip. You know, that was worth more than his leg. That was worth more than the feeling of safety and security that teenage girl had and would never get back.
Yeah.
Like, the mental math of what stuff is worth is already done before that encounter happens.
Yeah.
And they've already decided that you're wrong, it's not just stuff. So I think as the person being invaded, you 100% have a moral obligation, great. Like, you were morally justified in persecuting that person who's coming to your house in the moment.
Yeah.
To whatever end it goes to.
And
excessive force, my ass. Like, you should be able to put them out of their misery.
I'm not going to quote anybody. I'm not going to name drop, but I will tell you what a may or may not police officer told me back in the day. Dead men tell no tales.
They don't have the chance to say their side of the story.
If you want to ensure your well-being, you fucking make it worth it. Like, you make sure, like, if you're gonna do any time at all, you have to say, I was afraid for my life. You can't even say for my family's life. You can defend yourself and use whatever, but you cannot defend other people in Canada. You have to say, I felt my life was in danger. And you stop them to that extent.
That's ridiculous.
It is horrible. Canada's system is bullshit and garbage. America, you do not know what you have. You do not want this. If you live in America, stop. Don't allow your government to take away your right to defend yourself. Your Second Amendment means something. And your government should not fear an armed people. If your government fears an armed people, it means they're fucking up. Canada, we have no rights here to defend ourselves in the way that we should. We do have a right to defend ourselves, just not the way we should. I shouldn't have to worry about my kids while I'm not home.
Yeah, while you're, potentially in prison or fighting a court case.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous, and so, dead men tell no tales. You feared for your life.
Yeah,
that's it. That's what you say all the time, every time. I feared for my life. And you plant a fucking knife. You don't know what he had. It was dark. I don't know. Don't plant a knife. Now that I've said it, don't do it. But
oh man. I would love it if this was the one episode that gets Trudeau'd and like just like totally.
Yeah, now we need to silence these people.
Yeah, sent into the ether.
Do you know what we do then? We get a VPN and we start broadcasting from the States.
There we go.
Yeah, that's our goal.
That's where most of our people listen from anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Canada, step up? No, don't even bother. Man, America has the numbers, and I think they agree with us in a lot of ways, where the Canadians who do agree with us are far and in between.
I know we live in a special bubble here. Like people here
love my bubble.
We're pretty conservative on like those matters and fronts and stuff like that. Like most people I know are with us on this thing. They think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But that is not the majority. Like,
No.
it's just not.
And only by the numbers. That's the problem.
Yeah. You know, and I get it. Like I get that you feel morally superior to us, but just stop trying to say stuff is just stuff.
Yeah.
Because you don't believe that.
No, they don't believe it. Because you, people who say you believe that, and I say, you would never tolerate the tearing down of the Temple Mount.
No, you would not. You don't tolerate people disrespecting pride flags.
No,
you
don't. Bro, don't touch that pride flag.
Right? And you think like when you think about what is the physical object that you can't mess with. When you figure that out, you figure out what a society's God is.
So when Americans defend their guns so strongly, that's not a gun.
No, it's not a gun. It's an icon of a belief they have.
Yep.
It's not just their stuff. It's an actual idea of a certain amount of freedom from authoritarianism.
Yeah.
You know, even if a guy with his couple pistols isn't actually going to be a freedom fighter, like if push comes to shove, like you yourself are not going to make a difference in that. But it does represent an idea, an ideal, and they don't want that ideal to die.
Yeah.
Like the guns that they get on the market, like they're not going to compete with the military shit.
No.
They're not going to compete with an army at this point.
Yeah.
However, it's an icon of an idea that they don't want to let go of. Like it's like this thing, this little gun, this weapon, this 9mm, whatever thing they've got in their pocket that they don't want to let the government take away by taking away the Second Amendment. If you do that, it's like taking away the connection that is there between them and the War of Independence from Britain, right? Like you're taking away the last symbols of rebellion from authoritarianism. And so when you come at Americans, and even like certain Canadians like us and stuff like that, but especially Americans, when you come at that Second Amendment, try and get rid of it, try and limit what they can and cannot purchase for guns, you are saying, I'm going to say this clearly, you're saying we are the new kingdom of England.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to be a free America. That's like, I don't know how many people have put that together in their heads as this is why this bothers us so much.
Yeah. Well, it's because they're so disconnected.
But it is. Like, it's deep inside is you're actually attacking an icon of their war for freedom.
You see, a firearm to them is control. And people want to control other people. Like, okay, I want to be able to control myself. A firearm controls me. Where a leftist who's looking to squash that freedom is a tyrant. They want to take just that one thing away. The one thing that allows you to control yourself, like to govern and decide.
Yeah, I guess I agree with that, but that's at the very like immediate level.
Yeah,
but like what I'm trying to get at is the deep psychological.
Well, it's a tyrant, right? England was the tyrant, telling them how you are going to conduct yourself, and the Second Amendment was a giant middle finger to that. The entire Constitution is a giant middle finger to that governance. Yeah. So if America could go out of your way and invade northern British Columbia, You already got Alaska.
You already got Alaska. Just come down a little
Not
bit further.
even that much further.
I mean, you could take Yukon. I'm sure they'd be fine with it.
Yeah, they wouldn't even notice.
Yeah, they wouldn't even notice. So you just go through, take Yukon, and then also just take the first...
Alberta would be down.
Everything north of the Rockies.
Everything north of the Rockies, and Alberta would most of Alberta would be down.
Yeah, we could be southern Alaska.
Yeah, southern Alaska
or northern Montana. I'm good either way.
Alberta would be northern Montana.
That's right. We can be southern Alaska. Alberta can be northern Montana.
Done.
And everybody's happy.
Yes, I'll be happy.
Fucking A.
Is that considered? What do you call it? Treason.
This is treasonous talk, and Trudeau was going to shadow ban our podcast.
He already has. I assume he has. I assume that's why our numbers aren't as impressive, because this is fucking gold.
There's no way we've risen to the level of anybody controlling that new legislation to notice.
Yeah, we're still a bunch of nobodies. It's great.
Yeah, we really can just say whatever the fuck we want to, and it's not going to affect us until...
We could say the N-word. I'm not going to.
N-word. I just did. I know. There's a whole bunch of people on here saying you're being a pussy. I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's not worth something. That's not worth getting canceled.
Exactly,
over.
Because some things are more than just things. Like you know how stuff is more than just stuff. Some words are more than just words, right? Like the sounds coming out of my vocal cords mean nothing from an objective sense.
Yep.
But mean everything from a subjective sense. And so no matter how I would try to do it, to use that word in any way that is justifiable, it is a word that is an icon of something I can't control. I cannot approach. It will consume me if I get close to it.
It's not worth it. And what I will do, I should just go back. Okay, Camille Foster is this phenomenal person I listened to on the Fifth Column. Mm-hmm. He is not black by his own admission. While simultaneously his skin color disagrees with him. And so he decided that he's going to say every rendition of the N-word, like kind of how to say it. He's like, everyone be quiet. And then he said all of them. He's like, now record that and use it on your own free time. I'm like, I'll do that. I didn't say it.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Camille Foster, you are gold, and I love you. If anybody you know in some circle connected, it's so good. Fifth Column podcast. Yeah. There are a couple three lefties, but they're not like hyper left. They're like
center
left. But they're like yeah, you're not getting rid of the Second Amendment kind of left. I was like,
so they're realists.
They don't like Trump. They hate Trump. Love his wife though, because she's a foreigner and they're older, so she's good looking to them. I'll say it. I'm sure she was a smoke show back in the day.
That's hilarious.
Is there a better way to put it?
No, that's perfect. Because I look at Melania and I'm like, okay, hi lady. Like,
hi lady.
I would help you with your groceries and not expect it to go somewhere when we got there, right? Like,
there's no stepmom vibe here. Like, it's just...
right. So. But that's funny, like, if these older political gents are still, like, all into it, like, I mean, yeah, I guess that tracks. Like,
yeah.
It's like, this is age appropriate for you gentlemen.
Yes.
You know.
This is not weird or creepy. You're
lust away.
So, yeah, no, I really do appreciate that podcast. And if you get a chance to listen to it, it's, again, so good. And they're good lefties. They're my check and balance when to make sure that I'm not too far gone. Because if I got offended by what they said, I'd be like, okay, I'm too far gone. Where if you get offended by what they say, you might want to recheck. They'll be offended by you, but that's normal. That's fine. Lefties, there's nothing that lefties won't be offended by.
Oh, come on. We get offended all the time.
Oh, we do. I'm not saying we don't. Yeah. Okay. Now that we've kind of killed that one, right?
Did we yet?
I thought we did. We killed that whole...
Oh, I was going to get biblical.
Oh, really? You got biblical?
I was gonna.
I was going to talk about a new movie I watched. But it's not that good.
Oh, okay.
But so we can stay on it for a couple more minutes.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I made a comment of like, if I were to use the N word, it would consume me, no matter what.
Yeah.
I am not able to approach that God, you know.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a parallel to that in the Old Testament, like right after they established like the tabernacle and the rules of worship and all that stuff, established, a priesthood and all that. So a couple of Aaron's sons went into the temple to offer incense, but they offered the wrong sort of incense in the wrong way. And their censers, which is like, it's just a hot coal that the incense is on. When you move it, the flame and the coal heats up because it's getting extra oxygen and it burns the incense, and that's what makes the poofs when they swing it back and forth, right?
Yeah.
But they said that the coals basically like burst into enormous flames and utterly consumed them. Like they burned to death.
Oh.
Because and it said like this happened because they gave strange offerings before the Lord. They approached improperly with something that was not prescribed. So when you encounter a God and you are not of the priesthood that is sanctioned to approach it, it will consume you. And so that's something to think about whenever you encounter something that's a sacred cow.
Yeah.
Is you need to be able to do it in a way that protects yourself from being consumed by it. And there's certain that you just need to have the wisdom to say, like, this is nuclear. I'm not going to go there, without finding the deft way. Like comedians are able to. Comedians are able to play with that line.
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, they're able to play with that line and get close to a false god without being consumed by it. And sometimes it gets pretty dicey for them. Like, you can tell, like, oh, the flames are getting pretty hot right there.
Yeah.
But they can't do it by being idiots.
Yeah.
They have to be incredibly smart and clever and deft about it.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think that we just don't consider very often. Because we're like, stuff is nothing. Like even though we know intrinsically that stuff is more than just stuff, words are more than just words. Like there's real consequences to this, but without stopping to think of what is the God here.
Yeah.
We run the risk of being consumed by what we approach improperly. That's when guys get canceled. That's when guys get blown up. That's when guys get,
but
too far. Like
then the police, if it goes too far, look what happened with Joe Rogan. The perfect example is somebody who he didn't say it out of malice. He was simply quoting other people, not belligerent. He wasn't trying to be rude. He wasn't trying to call anybody out. He wasn't like, oh, they said this. This is how they said it. It's like, no, this is what he said. And he slowed it down, said it the way they said it. And he's like, this is...
Oh, and he got burned, though.
And he did get burned.
But I'm saying
it's a problem.
This is something that is bigger than just people policing, right? Like, this is something where because he learned his lesson from this whole thing. He's like, I need to be smarter about how I talk.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean...
But that's the thing. With the way he was conducting himself,
all of that happened in the past, right?
Yeah.
But it was all brought up.
Yeah.
It was all brought up because this new god got more powerful.
Yeah, well, it's because everyone approached it with bad faith, too. They assumed, oh, you said it. It's like, well, you didn't look at the context in which he said it.
Exactly, because they're part of the cult.
Yeah.
They're part of the cult of this new movement. Like, think of this in a way where there's a bigger entity that is controlling people to its will.
Yeah.
And it doesn't want to be brought back down to size. And so it will use its devotees in order to protect itself.
Yeah.
So when you can think about what is it that you're not allowed to approach, you can identify actual principalities. And once you understand that it's more than just a word, it's a principality, then that gives you the power. Then it gives you the power to be more clever in how you approach things. And I was thinking, like, there was a comedian recently that got sort of like put on the cancel list, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And we think like comedians are immune to that, but they're getting less and less so because I think they're getting sloppier. Like they're not being as smart as the Chappelles, as the Oh, what's the fella that
Bill
does
Burr.
Bill Burr? Like, they're not, because you have to be funny. You have to legitimately be funny, not just offensive, in order to poke holes at these taboos, in order to get close to the idol and expose it.
Yeah.
And if you're not funny, if you're not clever, if you're just doing it for shock value, it's going to consume you. And that's what happened to Aaron's sons, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, they went pantomiming what priests are really supposed to do, and they wound up getting burned by it entirely. So when you encounter something that is a sacred idol, you need to approach with caution, right? If you and I were to go to Jerusalem right now, like on a pilgrimage, like, all right, let's go to the Wailing Wall.
Yeah.
We would have to be very careful about how we acted there.
Yep.
You know, there's rules.
There's so many.
There's things you're supposed to do and things you cannot do.
You could get away with it. Your beard? I'm sorry, but they would think you're in the clan. Or their circle would be like,
Yeah.
I think he's one of us.
But if you were to do something uncouth there, or blatantly disrespecting it,
Yeah.
you would be very, very promptly dealt with.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say there's not a way to approach it without bowing to the god,
Yeah.
but you do need to have a certain level of respect.
Yeah.
And
That it
So
kind of irks me. You know how it is when you're like, you just feel like by bowing, by giving it the respect, you're giving it the power.
yeah, in a sense you are, but you need to realize what the stakes are. Like,
Yes.
right? Because you can go there being like, I'm being a punk rock radical, and like pee on the wall, right? Like, sorry, you're gonna go to prison for that one, and nobody's gonna remember your name.
Yeah.
You know, like you will be
erased from history.
Yeah, you will be erased from history. Like, you are not in that moment approaching in a way, even if you're trying to contradict it in a way that has impact. Like, you're just totally consumed.
Yeah.
So if you are going to be like, I don't agree with this, there has to be a way that we can approach this in a way that is authentic to myself without evaporating into the annals of nothing.
Yeah.
And so you have to know what the stakes are in order to even do that. And so I guess what I'm saying is, in this concept of things being more than things, if you can recognize that that's a real world principle that applies all over the place in a lot of different contexts, then you can start making educated decisions and not just randomly fall ass over tea kettle into oblivion.
Yeah. And just giving into your contrarian ideas of
just
the whole
being,
system needs to be fucked and flipped.
Just being
over
contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. That's a good way to be consumed by the fire and become irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, people will remember you for one news cycle, which is shorter and shorter, and then you're gone and everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
And you think, well, I wasn't going to bow down to the, to the idol of the spirit of the age. It's like, sure you weren't.
Yeah.
You just got your ass kicked by it.
Yeah.
If you are going to approach it with integrity, you need to be a bit more careful, and maybe even you need to build yourself up more. Maybe even like stay away for a bit.
And if you're going to do it, I'll say it. If you're going to piss on the Wailing Wall, you better be smart about it. Like, really, 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 really smart about it. I'm not saying don't do it. Well, I am saying don't do it.
Yes, that's not something I respect. Actually, I actually respect that.
Yes, but if you were to do it, you better do it in the smartest. Like, because that's something you can't
wear crosses there. Like, you can't openly pray. Like, that's something that the Islamists will be like, nay.
Yeah, they'll arrest you for it.
Right. So if you were like, you know what, I want to go and verbally pray there, you need to go.
Count the cost.
Yeah, count the cost. But as cheesy as this is to say, you need to go armored up. Like, you need to go with your whole self being built into something that is not easily destroyed.
Yeah.
You need to work on your holiness. You need to work on your greatness. You need to you need to approach it and be able to do that in a way where you'll actually make a damn difference.
Yeah.
And if you're not a man great enough to do that, maybe think better of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know somebody that should go try and do that, but I won't utter his name here. And he should do it recklessly.
On YouTube!
On YouTube. Hey, everybody! My name is such and such of this flipping Sorry, too far gone.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, somebody should do a YouTube prank about praying at the wailing wall.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So, yeah, that's well said. I'm glad that you hijacked my little segue there, because that was much better than my segue. Mine was going to be talking about the new Daily Wire movie. Which are we good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
I don't have Daily Wire, so I haven't seen it, but I know which one you're talking about.
Lady Ballers.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of disappointed. They had the outline of a great movie, like really good movie. Like it could, if they would have gotten somebody like Adam Sandler, like Rob Schneider, but they're all too old still. But like of that demographic, like Andy Samberg, or just somebody with better timing, better acting. The acting wasn't great. Script could have been better. But the premise was very, very good. If you haven't heard of Lady Ballers, it's a bunch of dudes who decide, hey, I'm a girl right now, and I'm going to go play basketball. And then everyone plays by the same rules of, oh, we're all girls. And then it just erases women from women's sports because everyone says they're a girl just because. And so the premise was so good. A lot of the build-up, a lot of the funnies could have been better if they were acted and written just a little bit better. It reminds me of the mid 90s Adam Sandler movies. It really did. It was good in that way. Like Waterboy, very cliche, like things that they did, like the Adam Sandler's commercial.
I mean, but in the 90s, though, it wasn't cliche. In the 90s, that shit was funny. Like, that had people, like, splitting their sides, rolling down the aisles in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
Like we look back on it and we're like, yeah, it's dated.
Like Happy Gilmore. Remember Happy Gilmore when he's like, oh, I love this Subway sandwich. This is so good. This is the only thing making me happy right now. And then all of a sudden he's in a Subway commercial. They did the same thing when it came to Jeremy's razors. It's like, this is the razors of women. It's like, this makes my face super smooth. Jeremy's Razors, their own razor company.
Oh, so they advertised... Okay, that is funny. They advertised their own razors in their movie.
Yes.
Ironically, that's hilarious.
They did it, and I was like, okay, all right, I see what you did here. And then they did the "you can do it" line, except instead of "you can do it," they said "how much." Like that was the cliche line that the guy would always say instead of Rob Schneider's in Waterboy saying, "You can do it!
Cut this fucking head off!" Yeah.
They did that, except it wasn't "you could do it." It was a guy yelling "how much." It was like, oh, random scenarios with a bunch of dudes or a bunch of girls or whatever. He'd be like, "How much?" That was his joke, and I'm like, well, that was kind of funny, but at the same time, it didn't have the same.
Yeah,
gusto.
Comedy's hard to do now.
It is really hard,
and it's hard to live up to, like let's say the Marvel movies, right?
Oh,
like
they
Guardians of the Galaxy. Like there's the writing in them is like a joke a minute. It's like bam, bam, bam. Like you're bombarded with humor all the way through, plus laser light show, superheroes, action movie. Like it's like how does a down to earth comedy compete with that these days?
Yeah,
not even that. These Marvel movies are that good. Yeah. But it's just so much stimulus in your face all the time. Like, how do you dial it back in order to just enjoy, like, a down-to-earth comedy?
Yeah.
I don't...
The comedy movies aren't what they used to. You watch Blazing Saddles, it is not a joke a minute.
Yeah, it takes time to simmer.
Build. They simmer. The jokes are great. They're gold. But it's not like, ha, 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 all the time. It's not the I think even Tommy Boy wasn't a joke a minute kind of movie, but the jokes he did have were just good.
I know they could pull it off, but Daily Wire should have tried to get Trey Parker and the other dude from South Park to produce that.
They should have.
It's like you need that kind of comedic mind to make a concept like that work.
Yeah, and actors. Proper actors. I'm sorry, but they had the Daily Wire crew doing it. The main actor was Jeremy Boring.
Oh, God. Sorry, groan.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, so there was
Ben Shapiro was in it for like 5 minutes, and he called somebody a fucking transphobe. He's like, "You shut the fuck up, you transphobe." I was like, okay, all right, that was funny.
There was a movie that came out maybe 10 years ago called I don't even remember what the name was. But it was a movie written about an ex-Hells Angels president story.
Yeah.
Like a Sonny Barger. Like he wrote a book, and they turned it into a movie. And it was a good book. But most of the actors were actual real Hells Angels in it. And it was like cheaply produced, and like so it didn't have the timing. It didn't have real actors in order to sell it. Like, yeah, it was kind of cool to see like real life 1% bikers in a movie about real life 1% biker shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's super cool. But when you look at it like a movie, you're like, this is really disappointing, and it's actually kind of cringy. Like, it doesn't pull off. It doesn't connect. And with the second that you said, like, oh, it's the Daily Wire crew that's acting it, I'm like, oh, I know what that is. Like, I can picture in my head how just off it feels.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It was just off. It wasn't that it was like a leap and a bound off. It was just the timing was just ever so slightly off.
It's almost like
I don't believe any. Like,
what do you call it? The uncanny valley. Like, when it comes to like CGI like versions of people, right? For the longest time, they couldn't figure out how to get past the uncanny valley, where an image of a person was realistic enough not to be considered a cartoon, but something so off about it that it made it feel uncomfortable to witness it moving and acting and trying to pretend to be a person. Yeah. So, and that's the problem with AI in general, is like, you're like, I can tell something's off. You're not perfect yet. you know, there's a soul that hasn't quite been connected to make this work.
Yeah. Your timing is just wrong. So, you ever listen to Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, like fake audio that they made for AI? It's off.
Yeah, it's just off.
You can just tell.
Yeah, you can tell there's nothing about this is real. Like, this is off. And that's an exaggerated way, but when people try to do comedy who aren't producers, this is the result you get.
Yeah, and I think that's where they missed. While simultaneously, they couldn't afford. I don't think at this point they could afford the big name actors that could have made that movie what it is, and everyone's too fucking afraid to do it.
Yeah, it's a shame. I wonder sometimes how Daily Wire is going to succeed with their movie and business plans.
It's actually quite good. A lot of their stuff is quite good. I've seen a bunch of their movies.
I just mean, like, in general, though, like, is this going to be something that goes from strength to strength, or is this something that started off with a bang and is going to peter out with more and more and more things that are like, like, you guys are using your own people as actors now?
Yeah, but that's the only one
your
so
producer
far.
is like,
So far, that's the only one.
Well, hopefully it's a one-off, and they're able to succeed in their goals.
And the problem with their Rotten Tomatoes score, because they're getting like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, it's boosted by people.
It's boosted by people who want it to succeed.
Who want it to be good. Who want to be like, stick it to Hollywood. F those, F those people that are pushing this down our throats and our kids' throats.
Yes.
So it's a political statement.
It's an inflated number.
Yeah, it's a political statement is what that number is, more than it is a reflection of how quality the film is.
Yes. With that being said, again, there was a lot of things that they did very good. Like, the premise was phenomenal. I actually kind of enjoyed it to some areas more than others. Yeah. But I saw the gold. I just saw that they didn't mine it properly.
They didn't get deep enough.
They didn't refine it.
Yeah. Well, all right, brother. All the sparkling water has gone right through me. I gotta call it.
All right, cool. No, that's fine. We are at 123. That's all you guys deserve.
Well, we love y'all, and remember, things are things and stuff isn't things, and I don't even know. I gotta go pee.
Everyone, just go re-listen to this to understand what Devin's trying to say.
I was trying to do a joke.
I know, and it didn't land. He's hobbling out of here. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Blue Collar Philosophers podcast. Like, share, do all that shit. We love you. Thank you.